Wow, I almost forgot where I was at. Here we are back in studio. Hey, I know that last week was a little different. I was on the road, Camp Grandma 2.0 in Minnesota. We survived Camp Grandma 2.0. Tanya and I made it back to Illinois, which obviously, as going from one blue state through a red state, or whichever way you go, whether I come back through Iowa or come back through Wisconsin, we go through a red state long enough to be back in a blue state. And it does have a certain aura about it. You can definitely feel when you move from a blue state into a red state and then back into a blue state. We did spend some time in Minneapolis, and by all means, I'm telling you, uh, I can't imagine what it's like to live in Chicago. I think that Minneapolis is it better off than Chicago? Of course it is. They don't have the Chicago public school system or the mayor and Brandon Johnson and the whole plethora of different things that have kind of corrupted Chicago over the years. But Minneapolis is they're high achievers. So look out. Things might happen in Minneapolis. But anyhow, like I said, it's good to be back in studio with you guys here Tuesdays, Thursdays at the DPB show. We are live 4 to 5 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Twitter, X, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Catch us live, please. If you don't, at least like, subscribe, move these things around, because more importantly, there are very few options when it comes to conservative talk radio or conservative talk podcast or content that revolves around the conservative message. It's dying. Why? It was intentional. Everything that has happened in the past 60 years has been intentional on moving the piece to taking territory, moving the cheese. That's what they've done. Hence the name of the topic of the show today, Trump derangement syndrome. Is hate. But before I get into that, I'd like to take some time to let you know that I did find something out from a good friend on Friday. Kat Peterson, many of you know, Kat helps me out with the DPB show, and of course, I must have hit the wrong chord here. I'm going to try to get it back in focus here. There we go. Kat helps me out with the show. I'm going to stay away from this one chord. I think it's this one chord. If I could just fix that one chord. Kat called me. She helps out with the show on Friday. I was up in Minnesota. So after my Thursday show, and let me know some bad news. In fact, she started the conversation out by saying that. She said, David Paul, I've got to tell you something, and it's not good. And I said, Kat, tell me what's going on. She said, and I of course made some guesses. I was dealing more with her and her fiance, and thinking something happened, and no, that wasn't it. It was our former GM at the radio station, Megan Zimmer. She had died, and it obviously is a tragedy. That's what I told Kat. I said, Kat, I am so sorry. I said, that's terrible. And, what do you say about someone she's 47 years of age? And, Megan and I have, we definitely have a friendship of history together. She brought me into the radio biz through substituting for a guy named Benjamin Yount on The Big Show. Benjamin has since moved on from cities. Well, in fact, when he moved on, I ended up taking on a show, and so did many others. Once again, I think it was a need to get local talent, live local talent, and I mean live local talent. And we did that. That was Kevin Ferris. That was Kat Peterson. That was Josh Bender was with Kevin Ferris, and so was Eduardo Monk. The three of them started together. Kevin ended up being single by the time that his show got to be 2 years old. Ty Smith came in. Ty Smith was a guest on my show. Paul Garcia had many opportunities to be on my show. David Quinn was a part of Kat and I's shows, and we just kept bringing people in. And so that's something that I can definitely say about Megan. She had the insightfulness to know the need to include, to build a bench. We talked about it often, building a bench, creating the future. Um, and Megan was very receptive to that. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for Megan at Cities 92.9, or I should say Great Plains Media. Her family has a long history in radio. Her dad eulogized Rush Limbaugh down in Cape Girardeau at his visitation. Their family had a longstanding friendship with the Limbaugh family. Um, Megan loved radio. She was committed on making sure that video or podcasting didn't kill the radio star. Some of you'll get that little nuance of a song. That video podcasting wouldn't kill radio off, and she fought very hard for that. She was committed to bringing uh, live, local, and syndicated radio, conservative radio, to this marketplace. If, obviously I've said often that there is a void now because live local is no longer there. Megan and I also had a friendship around an event. We put on a Trump rally out at the Corn Crib, which is, for you that are from afar and beyond, the Corn Crib is a minor league baseball team here in Bloomington Normal, North Normal, and the Corn Belters are the name of the team. The Corn Crib is the name of the stadium they play in, and we had an event called the Trump Rally, Restore Illinois Tour, and we combined two efforts. Darren Bailey was out on the road in a bus trying to restore Illinois. Trump was running for president for his second term, and he was in his third debate. And so, yeah, I mean, we put together an event that hosted 1,200 people for a rally. 1,200 people, and that's an accomplishment. I went to Megan back at the end of, probably just after the election of 2020 in November, somewhere around the end of November, and suggested to her that we needed to put together a trip. And there was a big push for Stop the Steal. And what was that about? It was basically, the grassroots effort of making people aware that something happened. Something happened in the election of 2020. We've never seen anything like it. All the indicators show us that something wasn't right about the election of 2020. We already were coming off of the fact that the election of 2016 was stolen by Trump. We already had dealt with the other elections throughout 2000, Gore, Bush. We had the gal down in Atlanta, the mayor there, or the mayor's race, right? That's right. It was the race for mayor. I always draw a blank on her name. I'll come up with it. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. But so election integrity and election uncertainty has been a part. Well, Megan, obviously, as I said, it'd be good if the nation got together, part of our listenership, people who listen to our shows, and we took a trip out to stand up for President Donald J. Trump and the American way, right? Our constitutional republic. And that's what we set out to do. And sure enough, we put it out and quickly filled up one bus, and we almost considering doing two buses because one of the things, as I shared with Megan, I was just coming off of full hip replacement surgery in December of 2020, and I didn't think I'd be able to go to DC and walk around. But I was encouraging her to take a group, and she said, no, I can't do it without having somebody that's a local talent. And she goes, you're the man. And I said, whoa, God, do you really want me to go? And God said, I'll give you the strength. And he did. And so Megan and I took that journey out there. Believe me, we felt the impact of that coming back with everything that we continue to see on the news today. In fact, I just heard a forum today where the people on the left, the people that are in the middle, the people who are delusional is the way I look at it. The people who believe in political theater, the people who believe in one instance that Trump is this terrible person, but yet support Biden and Clinton to the nth level. It fascinates me. Anyhow, we battled that together. So it's uh it's obviously something that impacts so many lives. Megan was someone who definitely had a lot of influence in our community. Her funeral mass will be this Thursday here in Bloomington, Illinois at Holy Trinity. So if you think about it on Thursday, you know, during that time around the noon hour, say a prayer for Megan and her family. Obviously, it's tough. It's really tough. It's anytime the loss of life is tough. The loss of a young life is tougher. Loss of the life of your mother. She had two children, two 20-something-year-old children. Um, Not easy, not easy. Unfortunately, her husband preceded her in death at a young age too, and so those children are now without both their mother and their father, so not an easy thing to deal with. So we will lift her up in prayers. I'm planning on going and being part of the funeral mass. I always say that if I'm going to be part of anything, I'm not big into the visitation lines, walking through and doing that whatever you do. I'd rather be there praying, and this is a time to pray, and a time to remember, and a time to celebrate the life of Megan Zimmer. So I will be doing that. I also want to give a quick little mention to the tragedy here in my hometown of Normal. A school teacher was shot and killed by her ex-husband. He then turned a gun on himself. They have three young boys. I don't have the exact ages, but they range from like 12 to 7, 12, 10, and 7, something like that. And that might not be exactly right, but it's close. But so we lift that family up. Just the tragedy, and this is, like I said, this is nothing new. We're not talking about anything new on the sun. People have dealt with tragedy, death. The part that I want to make sure that you're aware of before we get into the rest of the show, and I bring Ryan on stage. I'm looking at him; he's anxiously awaiting. But I wanted to make sure that I open this up. Is that I had an opportunity to witness to Megan about my faith. She was a person of faith. I firmly believe that. I just know that the challenges of this world really weighed on her heavily. And her dad, Jerry, the owner of Great Plains Media, formerly of Zimmer Communications, before he and his brother sold out the company, her dad has a Christian Catholic radio station um, in the basement of Great Plains Media. They have relics of Bishop Fulton Sheen and a chapel in the basement of where I worked at. I always said if I ever wanted to find my way, I would go to the basement. It was a holy place. And so I know that Megan grew up with faith. I know that she had that as part of who she was. We talked about that often. Um, we invited her to church often. Um, Never give up, never walk away, I should say, from a conversation with the doubt that you haven't communicated to somebody about the love of Jesus Christ and how impactful that is and what Jesus promises us through salvation. He promises us eternal life. I don't want to be a person that goes through the motions of this world knowing that I possibly could have missed an opportunity that God put upon me. Now, I get it. God's pretty good. In fact, he's the best. He always has something planned for somebody. I truly believe that. I don't believe that when I fail, um, somebody's eternal salvation isn't in limbo because of that. I believe that. That might be wrong, uh, but I don't believe that God says He's going to put the weight of the world of somebody's salvation on my shoulders. However, He does put the responsibility for me to continue to share the love of Christ with everyone that I encounter. And I want to do that. I want to continue to do that, but I don't want to walk away from an opportunity to share Jesus's love. And I know it's important that I do that. And I'm thankful for God's grace when I don't do that. And he gives me grace through that because somehow, somewhere, he makes that happen. But I don't want to miss opportunities, and I don't want you to miss opportunities. So know this. That's kind of where I'm at. It's just not Megan. It's this young mother who lost her life. I know that my assumption is that I hear that she was a faithful person, but I don't want people not to. I don't want people to leave this world without that hope, that eternal hope of salvation and of heaven. And I think we don't want to miss on that. It's not something to miss. Anyhow, with that, that's what I've got before we get into the context of things. Look at that. There he is.
Hey,
Bright-eyed and bushy tail.
absolutely, always.
It's good to see you back in studio.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Are you rested for the most part?
I have survived Camp Grandma 2.0
There you go.
in Minnesota.
Kat and you and Kevin were instrumental in getting my podcast on at Cities for the short time that I was on there. But obviously, Megan pulled the strings, and I didn't meet her personally, but I heard so many good stories about her through you guys. And she was a huge part of the community, as you said. And I can't imagine where the void is going to be filled next with whoever takes over. But it's a tragic loss for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's a loss. Many of you might see today I'm wearing this T-shirt of Annie Fry Radio. Now, I happen to run across Annie Fry. She has a radio station. I think it's 97.1 FM down in the St. Louis area. So she's got the best of both worlds. She is able to broadcast and have people from Illinois in her market, but she lives in Missouri, so she lives in one of those red states that I talked about, a free state.
That's been nice.
I was walking by her table. She was getting ready to go on air at the Illinois Republican State Convention. And I said, Annie Fry. And she goes, oh boy. And I said, Annie, I'm your biggest fan. And of course, I'm just playing it up. And we've met a couple times. Annie and I have, and I follow her on Facebook. And I said, I'd love to be on the Annie Fry show. And of course, her producer came up. He goes, yeah, he gave me his number and everything and his card and contact. So hopefully that'll be soon. But I wanted to give a shout out to Annie Fry. I got a free T-shirt. I went to the Illinois Republican State Convention and I got this free shirt from Annie Fry Radio. Give Annie a listen. I don't know exactly her times, but you can even Google her, Annie Fry. She's impactful. She's dynamic, strong conservative voice. Checks all the boxes when it comes to Christian conservative, mother, dynamic lady. So doing the work down in southern Illinois, obviously Missouri, southern Illinois. Yeah. And so she's covering the void down there. As you just mentioned, Ryan, there is a void now in central Illinois. Part of that is because of decisions made at the Great Plains Media.
Right.
Because it's tough to run a radio station in today's times. We talked about it. Megan had a commitment to keep radio alive. And unfortunately, budgetary constraints call for different decisions to be made, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not there to doubt that she's the general manager. I don't have to like the decisions, but she was the one making the decisions. I didn't mention this, and I want to make sure that I get this out there. This is where I was going with that, Ryan, at the end. I'm glad that I thought about it. The last thing that the last conversation I had with Megan was in her office, and this is when she told me that I was no longer going to be live on Sundays on the DPB show, and the one thing though that I can say that I walked away with that meeting, Megan and I gave each other a hug, and I said thank you to her, thank you for everything. I didn't know what the future held. At that time, I had some inside baseball, knowing that all the talent was going to be released, but also that Kat probably wasn't going to be around much longer either. And she was very distressed by that. When I shared that with her, I said, Megan, I don't know how to tell you this, but you better prepare yourself because this is going to come down the pipe. And it did.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to mention is that when we parted ways, the last contact with her, I told her, I gave her a hug. I said, I'll miss the station. I'll miss you. But I understand this is what you've got to do.
Yeah.
And so that's the way that was handled.
Well,
However,
too easily, it could have been the other way, right? You could have been frustrated. You could have been, a little bit irritated at the individual, losing you, but you handled it, I think, probably the best way you guys could. It's a bit, you've been around long enough that it's a business. Some people have to make decisions running for the betterment of the company, and it's not a goodbye. It's just moving on to something else. That's what God's plan is for you, right? You're in this space because another door opened. So maybe that's what it was too.
oh, I'm sorry. I almost didn't have my comments turned on. So all of you that were commenting, let me catch up with you guys. You're right, Ryan. First and foremost, in Trump derangement syndrome is hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's going to be the topic of most of our show today. And I want to really get to this because this has come out of Thursday's show. We knew it on Thursday's show that the verdict came in. Then you wanted to see what the fallout was going to be. We know that the left is so desperate and desperation beyond desperation. However, they also have mastered trying to put it in our face. And I talked about the weakness of the Republican Party, and the weakness of conservatives who allow the messaging to be stolen by the progressives, by the left. And I think that's even waning, because I think I'm seeing more and more people say, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to talk about this. If you want to call us this, that's fine. That's your belief. Go with it. La, 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 la. But, I'm not going to. I was doing the la la la.
Well,
anyhow,
the reaction from conservatives, whether it comes to, the Bud Light incident with Dylan Mulvaney and that can, and coming out on April Fools, and the backlash they received, they Bud Lighted several other companies for going all out wokeness, and you see that what happened with the Trump verdict. And I think Dan Bongino said it best about this. He's not a convicted felon. And any right-leaning show commentator, talking head that says he's a convicted felon, turn it off right away. He's not a convicted felon. This trial should have never taken place. It was one that was put together because it was forced at the DA's behest. He chose to take it up last minute. A number 3 from the DOJ came in last minute and took up on his team and was pushing this case through. So number 1, he's not a convicted felon, despite what the left is pushing. And number 2, the money raised from his verdict astronomically outweighed any kind of the commentary that the left thought it would do. They thought it would come out and damage him. You don't want to vote for a felon. You don't want to vote for this guy. He's done. He's over with. The polls raised with another 6 points, and he raised since then almost $200 million.
$300 million.
$70 million early on was from small donors.
Darren Bailey talked about that today too on the forum, and I definitely want to get to that. You see, Ryan's on fire. He's jumping the gun on me. Your wife is asking if I'm feeling better. Yes, Amanda, we are feeling better. The food poisoning is somewhat subsided. Still a little bit, fuzziness at times, but not too bad. My wife says, TTS, the struggle is real. Believe me, it's real. Around our household, we see it all the time, especially as a Trump delegate. You can only imagine some of the comments that we have directed our way. Sarah Froberg, it's always good to see you with us. Thank you, Sarah. Bob, always. Stacey Abrams, thank you. I did. See, you can always count on the DPB faithful, those that are coming on and commenting to pick up where DPB has those little mind blocks. Some people call those brain farts. I guess that's a better name for it, brain fart. The foreshadow censoring Trump supporters. Yeah. Valiant Thor, the bots are out in foreshadow censoring Trump supporters. Of course, they're going to be, wow, what a tragedy. Their children are around Donovan and Drew's ages. It's very true. Spiritual war will increase intensity. Beware, pray, fast, and prepare. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. Overcome and endure until the end. Christ will be with us. Valiant Thor, yes, Valiant Thor. That says it all. Good afternoon, Ryan, from Sarah. My friend from North Carolina, Mary Tack. I love that there is never a doubt, Dave Paul Bloom, saying that you love people and love God so much you never want to miss the opportunity to accept Christ as Lord and Savior. You are a wonderful witness for Jesus all forever. Mary, you're so sweet. That's so kind. We're moving back from Tennessee. Oh, I'm sorry, I said North Carolina. That was a move before. I'm not keeping up with my moves. Tennessee to Bloomington. Showing us that we are moving back to Tennessee. We love you and listening to God. Great to see how God is still directing and leading the show in truth. Well done. And then here's my Hannah Banana. Hannah, hey, Dad, 10 more days till I see you. That's because that'll be her wedding.
Yeah.
Next week. So I can't wait to see Hannah Banana, who is in Tennessee too. Mary Tack, she's actually in Mount Juliet. So maybe the two of you can hook up down there and go out for coffee or something. You would enjoy Mary, Hannah. But anyhow, now getting back to what you had said, Ryan, because I think it's important.
Well, it's the contrast between two parties, right? When the left decides it wants to protest or violently destroy the institutions we have because they don't like a decision, they destroy parts of the country they don't agree with, right? They burn buildings down, they riot in the streets, they tear up people's businesses, their livelihoods. They force you out of restaurants that you're dining in because how dare you not stand up for George Floyd's death even though he was a criminal? Conservatives, while you sometimes can be mad at the response on Capitol Hill for not getting more fiery back at Democrats, you also still want to be within your principles. You can get mad all you want, but don't get baited by the Democrats' push for violence. We are not a violent party. We're not a violent people. The best way you get back at Democrats is you vote and you push money towards the people who actually will get things done in Washington. And then
that's right. And one of their talking points now is,
yeah,
but you guys are the party of law and order. Trump is
Yeah.
refuting the law. Well, because the judicial system, just like every other agency, think about this, Ryan, and I do want to hit upon this as a key point. Where are the riots?
Yeah.
Let's see. This verdict went down Thursday night. Where did the violence happen in these cities? Where did the fires started? In fact, if any violence happened, it's been over the last couple days in some of these towns hosting these pride parades, where suddenly the participants in these pride parades have taken up arms against each other and have conducted violent acts.
You didn't see any conservatives burning down buildings. You didn't see any of us out there blowing up cars and beating on police officers simply because a verdict was handed down. We know that the verdict was a sham product of a trial that should have never taken place. But you know what we do? We are the working middle class. We are the people who obey law and order. There's some of us that are reckless, but we don't go blowing up the institutions that we don't trust. That's not what we put our faith in, the people to turn it around, not destroy everything, because that doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't do anything.
And the point and you're right. And the point that I wanted to make, Ryan, is this: outside of the House in DC, we as the conservative, Christian conservative voice, we have no inroads anywhere else.
Mhm.
We don't have the presidency. We don't have um, the Senate. We don't have Hollywood. We don't have the media. We don't have education. We have nothing more than a slim margin in the House.
Yeah.
That's the only place our voice is going to be heard right now, which is most of the reason that we are where we're at in society today, in the culture that we live in today, because we have become a weak people.
Yeah.
We have become weak in our faith. We've become weak in our positions. We've become weak in our arguments. And we have allowed the Democrat Party, through their progressive Marxist, socialist, communist way, to infiltrate all areas of our government, of our
Mhm.
culture,
Yep.
and they have consumed it.
They have taken every inch that we have given them, and they've been lazy as a party. Republicans have been lazy. What
Not
happened?
only
They can sit
lazy,
there. Yeah.
not only lazies, we have been just as guilty. You know,
Oh,
Donald
absolutely.
Trump Jr. said something the other day on Tucker. If you have an
Yeah.
opportunity to go out and watch it, it's about 38 minutes. But he said, I sit there and I hear guys like Lindsey Graham or
Mhm.
Mitch McConnell, and they say that they're fighting. In fact, when they talk as if they're fighting.
Oh, yeah, that's one message I completely can't stand anymore. They sit there and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then when it comes to action, they do nothing but fall in line with the uniparty. That's what
That's
has
right.
to change. If you're gonna talk the talk. Trey Gowdy was an example earlier that I heard about. He was great in these hearings when he was in Congress. He was
Yeah,
absolutely formidable when he was speaking, but what
yeah.
did he turn it into?
No action.
Absolutely nothing, and then he became a talking head later on. So, I'm so sick of Republicans getting up there at Capitol Hill and just running their mouth and then doing nothing about what they've promised.
Some people who aren't, if you have an opportunity, go out and watch JD Vance
Yep.
and with Wolf Blitzer, he hits it out of the park. He doesn't allow Wolf to continue to utilize the talking points of the left,
Mhm.
the coordinated effort to uh, convicted felon, the fact that we're a cult. That's something you see on social media now. Ryan, have you seen more and more people, people of faith too? This is the funny
Yep.
thing. People of faith posting the points of being in a cult. Um, and the last point I think has something to do, like, they don't even realize that they're in it. And it's like we always say here, it's the old accusing, it's gaslighting,
Yeah.
accusing us
Yep.
of what you are in. You are in a cult.
Yeah.
You're in a cult of the Twilight Zone, the land of make believe. Because as I was sharing with Ryan earlier, in this forum, and if you get an opportunity, go out and watch it. It was hosted, put together by Rick Pearson of the Chicago Tribune. He
Mhm.
had Michael Flannery, a longtime journalist, progressive up in the Chicagoland area, has a show. He tries to hold himself up as a moderate or an independent, but most progressive Marxists do.
Yeah.
And then they had Sherry Bustos, former Congresswoman of the 17th Congressional District, and then Darren Bailey. And of course, Darren was the only one out of the five. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Pat Brady. Pat Brady, the infamous Pat Brady, who was the former chair of the Illinois Republican Party.
Mhm.
He has experience in the courtroom. That's where he comes out of. He ran for a state's attorney here in McLean County at one time. A lot of stories of Pat Brady, cousin to Dan Brady. Their politics are pretty close. Dan might be the conservative one in that relationship, but
Yeah.
out of the five, only one was voting for Trump. The other four definitely are not voting for Trump. But go out and watch it. Sherry Bustos, Congresswoman Sherry Bustos, made this comment. She said Joe Biden was a good family man. And she was doing that on the tail of Darren mentioning that Trump was a is a grandfather, a father who's involved with his children, which I'm pretty certain he is. I
Mhm.
see evidence of that all over the place. Donald Trump Jr., Eric, Ivanka,
Yeah.
uh, his kids look like uh, Barron. It looks like they're pretty fluid, and yet she wanted to tell us that Joe Biden was a good family man and a
Yep.
good man at heart.
Yeah.
And this is a cult.
Yeah.
That's what we call delusion, and this is part of the topic today.
Yep.
Trump derangement syndrome is hate. Everything about this movement of what they're going to call you coming out of this verdict, because this thing is totally going to backfire on him. As Ryan said,
Yep.
he is a convicted felon of a fake crime.
Yeah. And if you yeah.
34
Yep.
counts,
34 counts.
all
Now,
fake.
it wasn't a surprise that a decision would have been handed down, right? I don't think any of us on the right, at least most of us, thought he would be guilty of some one of those offenses, because the way the instructions were handed down were in such that you don't have to be unanimous in the verdict. You can choose an accessory crime to the main charge. But what they didn't do in any of the verdicts or any of the decisions read by the jury, they didn't actually name the felony that it rose to, nor the crime that he actually committed. So, what crime did he actually commit that arose to this?
Well,
And they
and
can't name it.
then that was the instruction to the jury from the
Yeah,
judge
right.
that they didn't have to,
Yeah, they didn't have to
uh,
name it. What
they didn't
in
have to
what
name a
system
crime.
does that actually happen? That's not supposed to happen that
What
way.
and for anybody to sit back like a Pat Brady today on this forum and
Mhm.
say that, well, this is the kind of guy Pat is. He said it should have never been brought
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
However, he's going to say that it was justified in every way.
Mhm.
That so in one breath he's saying it shouldn't have been brought forward, but he said this isn't the judicial system's problem. It was handled in a judicial way. And there was no justice in that. Anybody that in their right mind, which once again, they're not,
Yep.
they're under the effects of Trump derangement syndrome. And it is a hate. And it has nothing to do, you know, as much as I despise and can't stand, I dislike, I dislike with a passion Barack Obama, Joe
Yeah.
Biden. I think everybody on this, tuned in today and will tune in later here at the DPB show live Monday or Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5, and like and subscribe, it says in the bottom. But everyone, I think if you know my heart, you know me. I love people. I might not like Barack Obama and I might not like Joe Biden. And I will tell you, I know when I'm in the presence of the evil one,
Yep.
because that's how the evil one basically manifests himself. And that's through the hearts of people.
Yep.
I know when I'm in a conversation with somebody who is truly driven by something other than the light of Christ.
Yeah.
I get it. Been in those situations often. I know that is a time when I must decrease, that Christ may increase. And I handle it with love. I'd like to say I'm 100%, but as I shared with you earlier, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thankful that God is there to pick me up when I'm not able to move through those situations. But that's why we put on the armor of Christ,
Mhm.
because we're going to continue to be up against this formidable force. It's spiritual warfare, as
Yeah.
the commenter
Oh,
Valiant. Go ahead.
speaking of worshiping, people we shouldn't, or worshiping anybody other than God, Democrats have accused Republicans of worshiping Trump this entire time. And on Capitol Hill this week, you have hearings with Dr. Fauci, and he was not called Dr. Fauci by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, if you missed it, you can find the video, but I've got a video pulled up. So Democrats always accuse us of worshiping and idolizing Trump, but they have sat by for 4 years and idolized and worship a golden calf of Dr. Fauci, the savior of all mankind during COVID, who shoved mask mandates in our face, who shoved vaccines down our arms. And if you didn't wear one mask, you were forced to wear 2 masks or 3 masks, and you had to get 47 boosters. The same party that accuses the Republicans of worshiping and a cult and violence is the same party actually committing the same things they're talking about. This is a video outside of the hearing on Fauci earlier. And if conservatives are going to fight back, this is how you do it. Now, I don't know if this video will block out the language that she uses when talking to the reporter, but if you can get back in these people's faces in a way that stands your ground, this is what you want your representatives in Washington doing. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene confronting a reporter who asked a dumb question about how she acted during the hearing. Let's see if I can do it quick.
I think you can do it. I know you've done it before.
Let me screen share here. That way you guys can see it. So this one there, did you pull it up?
Yep, there it is. Hold on. I got it. I got to add it to the stage. There you go.
Yep. Okay, so you can't hardly hear the reporter ask her the question, but she goes after Democrat Jamie Raskin, who another moob on Congress, Congressional Hill, about the worshiping that we tend to do over Trump, and she lets him have it.
In that room? No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump, worshiping as a convicted felon. Well, yeah, so is George Floyd. And everybody, and you all too, the media worship George Floyd. Democrats worship George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd, and Raskin is in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you, and this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God, and Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop BS and annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing.
So
yeah, and that's why I'm saying, we had gotten weak. MTG, I have become a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that she's not a polished politician. No. I don't want a polished politician. Neither is Trump. Neither is anybody who is standing up and fighting for this great cause that we call the American way.
Yep.
We're just ordinary people who have gotten sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. Yes, there's no question the left, the uni party,
yep,
establishment Republicans haven't mastered linguistically the ability to bold you know what.
Yeah.
Because they have. They sound eloquent and cushy and warm and fuzzy and how
beauty time is over. We need more people like Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress stirring the pot and calling out Democrats for what they're doing. More action needs to happen. But it's interesting she brought up that, the George Floyd burn and that, the violent thing. We're not a violent bunch of people.
No.
But it's interesting the hypocrisy and the hierarchy that Democrats have. Here's another illustration, about another minute. But here's all the times the Democrats call for violence. So sitting there accusing us of being violent as well. But here I can get this again.
I'll add it. Don't worry.
Yep.
Bring it through.
So here is about a minute and a half of Democrats themselves calling for violence. The Democrats on Capitol Hill calling for violence while accusing Republicans of being violent.
I don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Derangement.
People will do
Derangement.
Yeah.
Violence.
Yep.
Political violence. These people, and when I say these people, I'm talking about anyone who supports.
Well, this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And
Of
for
course.
those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator.
There it is. Yeah. I'm done. I'm done with QT time with Democrats. If you vote Democrat, you're essentially dead to me. I mean, I'm so tired of people voting for Democrats when this is their party. This is who you're voting for. Don't sit there and accuse conservatives of being violent, and then your own party is throwing this out there every day for us to see.
Well, and the thing is call it out like Marjorie did.
Yeah.
Like Darren
it
did
out.
today. Darren was Darren Bailey, right? Loving, caring, sharing, listening to all this. The course at the end, they wanted to talk about the Trump documents and J6. Quickly, the show was up against the end anyway, but Pat Brady has the audacity to be out there with Adam Kinzinger, which ultimately these are liberals who have hidden in the Republican Party for too long. See, I didn't call them what people say. Oh, well, we got to unify. No, we don't have to unify. We just have to follow the Republican platform, which is more consistent with the conservative Christian way that I believe in than the liberal leaning progressive Marxist ways.
Progressive Marxist communist behavior the Democrat Party has become. This is no longer about liberal conservatives where we have shared ideals but different paths to get there for the country. This is about right versus wrong. Yes, Republicans are never going to solve all your problems, but Democrats are going to cause all of your problems.
I want to get
clear.
I want to get to this on stage here. This is Merrick
absolutely.
Garland today. Matt Gaetz, obviously one of the fighters. I put, certain individuals, Matt Gaetz being one of them. I understand a lot of people are, have a lot. I got a picture of him. I put a profile picture up. I like Matt Gaetz.
What you want about
authentic, great guy. The reason they don't like him is because he's trying to advance and move the needle. It's amazing how many lifetime politicians who have screwed this thing up for so long and have been part of where we are today. They have been part of leading the caravan to where we are today. I'm done with you too. Go and just be part of the Democrat Party. It's okay. You don't have to stay with us. We've got plenty of ground game. But we have got more ground game. In fact, the more fake Republicans, liberal Republicans move out of the party, people come and return to the conservative way. But this is Merrick Garland today with Matt Gaetz questioning him.
Let's see if the attack on the DOJ, the attack on the institutions, the attack on the courts, they attack justice, but here they are. This is what they're using against us.
Here it is.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them and will you provide those communications?
You make a request, we'll refer it to our or Office of Legislative
But see, here's the thing.
they
You
will
come in
respond
here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory that there's coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now,
Oh, he's such a snake.
It's
And that's all they do. They never answer a direct question.
Well, and Fauci, I mean, and then you can go to Mays Moore. That's
Yeah.
where I played that from, Mays Moore on Twitter, X. You can go to RNC Research. They're some of the best at doing it. You can also look up, I know Bongino refers you to Mike Davis, Mike Benz. I mean, there are so many active people out there that are just blowing these people away with their own words, you know, and that's what I meant when I said we got weak.
Yeah.
I have to say, I wasn't very strong in the first place. I am just trying to get from first gear into third gear on my old Ford Pinto.
I'd like to always go organically. You know, when you watch the difference between Glenn Beck versus Dan Bongino, or even Kev Ferris, or you or I don't like to always be in that fifth gear, because I don't want to come off as, wow, he's just a hothead and he's always angry. I want the anger and discontent to be genuine and derived from organic brought up, you know. So I don't want to just get mad all the time and be hot, angry. I'm generally a laid back person, but there are certain things that I get really heated about, and this is one of them. This is getting to me so hard that I'm so tired of it, and you can't not be mad at what's happening. There's no republic anymore. There's no justice system. We can sit there and say, well, look at the appeals process. He can win the appeal. In New York, not a chance.
No, it has to be the only hope for getting this overturned is through the Supreme Court.
But again,
it's not going to happen before the election, because all of this is purely a charade. If you thought that January 6th, as I told Charlie Schlinker from WGLT in the news WEEK studios, as I told, and I tell everyone this, it's political theater, folks.
Yeah.
You're just as well off at going down to the community players or to here locally in Normal to the Connie Link Amphitheater and watching a play, because that's what we are witnessing right before our eyes. These people are deceptive. They're liars.
And they know they're hypocritical. They don't care about hypocrisy anymore.
They follow the same playbook. All of them do. When you hear somebody like Sherry Bustos today say that Joe Biden is a good family man, with a straight face. This was a woman who was in charge of a congressional district, and that is her outlook on Joe Biden, that he's a good family man. I mean, this is
what kind of father lets his son do drugs for that amount of time in his life and not
there's so many instances.
What kind of shower? What kind of man and daughter, husband and father he is, that he showers with his daughter, and there's a diary about it, and the FBI is not,
And then there's a cover up, and there's a lot more. But Ryan, I want to keep us focused. This isn't about our derangement, because, and you said it best, because it is pushed us to the limit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose sight of this. Don't lose sight, Ryan.
Yeah.
You out there, don't lose sight. We are winning. I said this a few weeks ago. We know we're winning. Trump received over $300 million in contributions after this verdict.
Yep.
These folks, we are coming on to you live Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we are bashing them.
Yep.
And we're pouncing. Yeah, you're right. We're done.
Yep.
We're done giving up territory. We're done letting you dictate the narrative.
Yeah.
It is time to flip the script on them, and that's what we're doing. Trump derangement syndrome is hate.
Yep.
I don't hate anybody. These people have unadulterated, did I say that right?
Unadulterated hate, yeah.
Yes. They
So-
can't. They despise Donald Trump. They despise you and me. If we stand up, I'm going to make my point here at the end of the show. We got about 5 minutes. It's just showing Scott Preston wore a yes for Unit 5 sticker at the St. Patrick's Day parade. Brad loves it. Thanks,
Mhm.
Brad. But that's, we look at that as a consolidated election.
Yeah.
But that's the ground soldier.
Yeah.
Scott Preston is not helping the cause
Mm-mm.
of being part of the Republican Party here locally if he's going to demonstrate annex like that. That is the furthest thing from what we need. So here's how we're going to end the show.
Yep.
And I didn't quite know how we would get out of this today because it is Trump derangement syndrome all day, 24/7. It's not going to stop, folks. You you either ignore these people on social media. That's the best way.
Yeah.
Ignore them.
Yeah.
Or do what I ignore them most of the time because Lord knows I get it. I understand from where they're coming from. I bless their hearts. Obviously, we live in a free country, and they have a First Amendment right protected here on the DPB show and throughout social media. But my wife put out a post yesterday, and it was in regards to Walmart advertising in their kids and infant sections some very outlandish, pornographic. I'm going to call it pornographic.
Yeah, that's
because
what it is. When you're
again,
tailoring it to kids, it absolutely is explicit.
when you are driving it towards children
There's no
to
such thing as
change
trans kids.
about sex, that is a no-go zone. I don't care what you do once you're 18 years of age. If you're an adult and you want to do something in a nature, but I'm pretty sure that Christ was very specific about misleading
Mhm.
our children. What you're trying to mislead them in and indoctrinate them into, I know, is an abomination, as Pam says.
Yep.
It's an abomination. Christ directly referred to this. Over-sexualizing children is an abomination. It's a perversion.
Yeah.
It's pedophilia. We're not that far from Sound of Freedom. You know how quickly that got buried, right?
Yeah.
Look at
absolutely.
all of the good that show did and the
Mhm.
lives that it impacted. I would like Sound of Freedom to continue to be playing in theaters everywhere you can possibly get it to play.
Mhm.
But my wife puts this post up where Walmart is trying to be accommodating, I guess is the word,
and
welcoming,
it's grooming,
accepting
right? Yeah, it's the groomer.
to the Pride Month.
The
And-
Democrats want your kids. They want to take your kids away from you because those are the most innocent, vulnerable types of people they can control. You
Well,
separate the kids from
but
the
it's bigger.
family,
It's
that's who-
bigger than it's part of the Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is where I'm going with this, Ryan, to wrap
Mhm.
the show up. They understand that everything that they've gained over the past 60 years, everything. Joe Biden now is backtracking on the border, and of course, he's going to become the guy that secures the border, even though he did away with all of Trump's things because of all the humanitarian reasons that he tries to list. They always try to flip the script, saying
Yeah,
we're the ones
election-
doing what they're doing.
That's all it is. Yeah.
But that's what they're fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the hate comes in.
Yep.
They hate this man because he's going to reverse the work that they've done,
Mm-hmm.
the minds that they control, the derangement that they have caused. When they call it Trump derangement syndrome, derangement is real. They have created an entire generation of deranged people.
Yeah.
And where does that lead us? Well, it's not going to be resolved, Ryan. In fact, I tell you, prepare yourself. These
Mhm.
people aren't going away.
No.
As we pointed out, Trump verdict, obviously unjust,
Mhm.
unconstitutional, I believe, based on
Yep.
the way that it was positioned. It was a fake crime. Obviously, it could have happened many years before today, but it didn't. It's election interference. It is trying to jail your political opponent. It's banana republic. This is where these people are at. But more importantly, they're not going to stop. They don't have a plan B. In fact, they don't have a plan A, because Joe Biden isn't going to be their nominee, and they don't know how to stop the Trump train.
Yep. I got one
Go ahead.
last plea and one last video. A point at hand. So one way you can come at these people instead of being playing to their level as far as language, just ask them directly. You know, when they yell in your face, and say he was convicted of a crime, he was convicted, he's going to be sentenced to jail. Just ask them point blank, what was the crime? Because here's a reaction, and here's a great way to come at them, because they have zero answer when actually asked a direct question. What is the issue, or what is the crime?
The other thing is that you can do is go ahead.
Yeah, no. Michael Knowles goes on Piers Morgan.
Is this audio? There's no video on this.
There is video. I'm going to share it here. So this is Michael Knowles. I'll set it up this way. Michael Knowles goes on Piers Morgan in a panel, and there's a leftist. I don't know who she is. It was played earlier today, but she just goes off the mark. What they always do. Oh, he's convicted. He had a financial crime. He did this. He was a felon. They could not get to
blah, 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 blah,
here's
blah,
Michael Knowles asking point blank what happened and what is a crime, and she wet her pants because she could not get an answer.
You can also ask them if they're voting for Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
Is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted.
Well, let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly what they charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York State law.
I understand. What was the crime?
It is
She's related to AOC.
I don't even like it. It is
hang on, Mark,
he just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money, to pay off somebody, and then he logged it as something different. He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this porn star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was, and so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State. Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this.
Oh my gosh. So many things wrong there. First of all, none of those actually were true. It wasn't leveled to a federal election crime caused. And you saw the example. She couldn't come up with the actual crime committed. He took his own personal money and paid a legal expense for an NDA.
Hush money, yeah. It's not a crime.
If he took campaign money, actually, it would rise to a level of a federal crime. This is the type of derangement syndrome we're seeing by the left. They can't be direct. They just spew.
Well, and that's why it's important to ask them, what is the crime? What crime did he commit? Ask them, then follow up with, you can end a conversation real quick.
Yeah.
Are you voting for Biden? I have no problem admitting I am voting for the guy, the convicted felon. I've said it. Bongino likes to say he's voting for the outlaw. I'm voting for the convicted felon, because I know that Trump, back when this country started, would have been a convicted felon too. Bottom line is, it's amazing how many convicted felons have changed the world forever.
Yeah.
Hey, with that, Ryan, I think we're up beyond the hour. I appreciate you. That was thank you. The presentation of that at the end says it all.
Yep.
When you can't even articulate the crime, but yet this man was convicted 34 times for a crime that no one knows.
Mm-hmm.
That should give you everything you need to know. Go out there, contribute to Trump. Hey, as I said earlier when we opened the show talking about Megan Zimmer, the general manager of Great Plains Media, her memorial really caught my eye when I read her obituary. She wanted all of her memorial to go to Trump, the Trump campaign. I want to give you something, Ryan. I want you to type this in. It's Trump. It's I'm going to find it out. I'll put it up on. There's an actual direct way to send Trump money so it doesn't go through the coffers of all the different groups and organizations. It's Trump 47 committee. I don't think it's committee. It's something else. I got to get it from Darren Bailey, but it's you make your check out to that and you can send it to him. You can send it to Darren Bailey. You can send it to me. I will make sure he gets it. I'm going to go and I will get that and put that up on the DPB show. I'll have it for you the next time around. But make this the contribution directly to Trump's campaign, because unfortunately, so many people have their mitts in the pot that it gets watered down. We want as much of this to go. I get it. There's a lot of good work being done out there on behalf of President Donald J. Trump. But we want as much money to go to the Trump campaign for the Trump effort, because we know that he's going to utilize that, as he's done throughout the history of his life, in the most efficient, effective means possible. The guy's built an empire based on being frugal. And if you don't believe that Donald Trump's frugal, go and ask anybody that's worked for him. They will tell you stories. The man believes that you do not waste money. So, hey, I appreciate you guys. Once again, as always, I love you. Jesus loves you more. Until we get back here on, let's see, today's Tuesday. We'll be back Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. You can always catch us. Go out, like, subscribe, as it says on the bottom, at any one of the platforms we're on. We will see you on Thursday. We're not going anywhere. This is where our home is. Illinois is our home. We're going to fight here from Illinois, and we're going to fight communism right in McLean County. We're going to fight socialism, Marxism. We're going to fight the radical left. We're not giving up. We're standing behind the only man that I know at this point that can truly change the course of America, and that is Donald J. Trump. Hey, we'll see you later, and until next time.